Are you searching for a deeper understanding of your faith?
Inspiring Philosophy is your go-to resource for exploring the rich tapestry of Christian thought.
From biblical archaeology to philosophy of mind, we dive into the topics that matter.
Our content bridges faith and understanding, offering insights into God's existence and the reliability of the New Testament.
Join a community where faith meets reason and discover the answers you've been seeking.
Inspiring Philosophy, where faith meets understanding.
The fool says in his heart, there is no God. They are corrupt, they have worked abominations. There is none who does good. The Lord looks down from the heavens on the sons of man to see if there are any who understand, who seek after God. There they are in great terror, for God is with the generation of the righteous. You have shamed the counsel of the humble and afflicted. But the Lord is his refuge. Oh, that salvation for Israel would come out of Zion when the Lord restores the captives of his people. Jacob shall rejoice and Israel be glad. They have all turned aside. Together they have become corrupt. There is none who does good, not even one. Have they no knowledge? All the wicked that devour my people, as they feast, they do not call upon the Lord. There they are in great terror, for God is with the generation of the righteous. You have shamed the counsel of the humble and afflicted. Oh, but the Lord is his refuge. Oh, that salvation for Israel would come out of Zion when the Lord restores the captives of his people. Jacob shall rejoice and Israel be
All right, we're live. I was looking at something. Anyway, how's everybody doing? Hope you're doing well. I'm here with Tim and Than with boring background. He used to have a nice background, and then he made a boring background.
It's going to be way better. Hey, I showed you the concept, Mike. You'll love it.
I'm going to keep ragging you because it's not done. It should have been done before we streamed. It's not. Therefore, you're being punished.
Never mind. That's fine.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, we've got Tim with us. How you guys doing? So the reason why both of these guys are here is because these two are the two guys who helped me prepare the most for my debate with Richard Carrier at DebateCon 6. And for my other debate I had there with the Muslim Junior, I prepared too much for that by myself as it was because he came with a nothing burger. But for the Carrier debate, these two guys helped a ton with preparation. So bringing them both on. Obviously, Than has to help me because I said so. And Tim was nice enough to also help. So, yeah.
Works.
So,
Tim, I fixed our names, by the way.
Back in 10. Let's go.
guys are the worst, the most racist ever. Anyway, so all right, Tim, what were your thoughts on the debate with Carrier?
Oh man, I mean, I think the best way I can put it is only those who know zero, absolutely nothing, will think Carrier won or did a good job. Enough said.
Yeah. What about you, Than?
Look, I was pleasantly surprised with how nice Carrier was at first. And I thought the debate was cool to listen to. It seemed like you guys were both feeling like you couldn't dig into too much detail though, because it's a debate. And that's one of the things that really sucks about philosophical debates like this. So I was a little disappointed because I wanted more stuff.
Yeah.
Aside from that, Carrier just contradicted himself a lot. And I there was a lot of, I mean, Tim and I were on the phone before this, and I was like, how do you understand this argument Carrier gives? and I kept on, and Tim can attest to this, and we'll probably cover it. I kept on ascribing things to Carrier that made way too much sense. And then Tim would be like, no, that's not what he's arguing. It's something way dumber.
Giving too much credit. Yeah. It was a struggle.
Yeah. My overall thoughts were is that he didn't address my main argument. I'll just put this on screen here, which was that, listen, I presented 3 arguments: a contingency argument, an argument from consciousness, and a moral argument. And there are other arguments I could present as well. I can explain all of these with one explanation: God exists. Carrier fell into this trap. He never addressed it. He did exactly what I said he was going to do. He instead, well, for the emergence of the universe, I'll give you this explanation. And for consciousness, I got to come up with something else for this. And for moral realism, I got to come up with something else. I mean, that alone means he didn't actually address my main argument, because my argument is more parsimonious. It's simpler. I can explain a lot more data with one explanation, whereas he's got to come up with some nothing bubble, which we'll get into for the explanation of the universe. And for consciousness, it somehow comes out of biological computation, even though it didn't explain how that happened. And for moral realism, he's just going to hold this basically some weird system that I try to understand. I still don't even get it, but it fails to G.E. Moore's open question argument. But that's the main problem with his overall argument, is that the theistic explanation can account for all this data, whereas he can't. And I also pressed him on his weird idea that the universe comes from nothing. And I put these quotes up in the debate because I wanted him to defend his position here. He didn't really defend this, if you notice, until I pressed him in the open dialogue. Said very little about this because it's just insane. Okay, he's not arguing like Lawrence Krauss did that, the universe comes from this quantum vacuum state, which I'm going to call nothing. No, guys, Carrier is literally arguing the universe came from an absolute nothing, and that is a better explanation than God. I kid you not. He says, whereas if you just let it go without any intelligent control, then a nothing, a literal philosophical nothing, will almost certainly collapse into something. He says the assertion from nothing comes only nothing is false. That is a rule, and nothing contains no rules. No such rule could therefore exist where there is nothing, so as to govern that nothing. Therefore, it cannot be the case that only nothing comes from nothing. In fact, we cannot even establish that it is likely that only nothing will come from nothing. This is total gibberish nonsense. It's insane. So I pressed him on this, and we'll get into that. But this is his position. It is beyond absurd. This doesn't make any sense. Yeah. So that was my main point. Oh, and the other thing about this whole thing is that he says in other articles of his, he contradicts this whole idea, because in these articles about the universe coming from nothing, okay, even if he's right, he says everything is probable. Like anything can happen because it's all equally probable. Those are his own words. If it's all equally probable, then that contradicts other articles he's put out where he has said, well, the universe, the way it looks now, makes more sense on naturalism than it does on theism. No, according to your own background knowledge, your own view, everything is probable. So you can't say this universe is more probable on your naturalistic worldview than on a theistic worldview, because you have said out of your nothing burger, your nothing bubble, comes everything. Everything is equally probable. So that generally is you. But overall, my main argument was not addressed. That you can explain a lot more with theism and account for all the data. He can't account for that data. Therefore, theism is more logical.
Yeah, I'll save myself. I'll save my thoughts for later. Never mind.
You better. If IP shows up on time, I think we should all donate $5. Well, I did, so you should. Please do. It is December. We're doing end of the year funding, so if anyone can donate
Yes.
below, we need to raise 1,000 by the end of the year. So we're getting there. We definitely need more supporters, though, that can sign up to help us donate. So please click that link below. Help us donate. It is down there. We'd be appreciated.
Yes. That way Mike can stop yelling at me about how boring my studio is.
Yes. Very boring.
And,
Very, very
and,
upset by this.
and then I can actually finish the remodel.
Oh. Dave says, carrier detected, opinion rejected. That's very atheist phobic of you. How dare you, sir? How dare you? Well, I mean, he said nothing. So that's his argument, guys. Nothing. High IQ gets you to believe that nothing is a magical blob. That is nothing that produces magical things, you see? This is a very powerful argument that maybe atheists don't have high IQ. Yes, very powerful. That's what he argued. And we will get into that here. Let me jump right into that. So we can I'm going to go right to the open dialogue of this debate. There's some other things I could address, but I think this is where we really got down to it.
The 20-minute open dialogue. Got the timer set. The floor is yours, gentlemen.
Thank you, Dr. Carrier. Question about what you said there. You said ran something out of a hat. Are you talking about your nothing state?
Yeah, I'm responding to your discussion of my nothing state. Yeah.
Okay, so you pick.
Okay, so again, I have to keep reiterating this because it sounds insane. He literally thinks the universe came from nothing because there can't be any rules in nothing. So there can't be any rules that can restrict what can happen in nothing. Therefore, nothing can do anything. Tim, please explain to me why that is dumb. Because my brain is hurting just even saying it.
I remember you got frustrated with me because I tried to steelman it originally. Okay, so we'll do the reverse here. What'd you say?
I said we probably pissed off Mike so much.
Oh yeah. Well, this is ridiculous, right?
Look at Mike's face. He's like, "Oh my gosh, these dorks for like trying to make this make sense."
Well, I'll keep it simple. This is ridiculous because when we talk about for there to be things have to have been caused. Like that's just kind of the case maybe, or something just exists. Something exists or something was caused to exist. Like that's just what it is. In Carrier's example, none of those things are the case. Nothing just exists. And then nothing's caused to exist. And so without those two obvious preconditions for literally anything happening, it's just peculiar as to how anything happens. Now, when he says things like, oh, well, then that means if there's nothing constraining anything, guys, there's no laws, there's nothing to constrain anything, then anything can happen. But that's only in the midst when you have something, right? It's not when you in the absence, and absences don't cause anything, right? So if you want to get really, really nerdy, like there's literally no philosopher ever who specializes in this who will say absences are reasons for things. Like we don't ever do that in our waking reality. Like that doesn't even need to be said. But it's like we don't explain things in the basis of absences. Absences aren't things, so they can't be causal, right? So already out the gate, the fact that I even need to say this, yeah. It's
pretty ridiculous. And I'll pull up some of his articles later to just reiterate again so you guys can see his own words. I made highlights because that's how bad it is. But go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, I'm just maybe listening to this again is going to help me because I remember reading and I have his article pulled up here too. It sounds like in the debate he's saying that this nothing state actually causes this universe to exist or the multiverse.
That's what he is.
So this is my question, actually.
Well, let me finish this really quick, Tim, just in case. In his article, though, his premise, like one of the key premises are here. It's prop 4. If nothing governs or dictates what will become of nothing other than what is logically necessary, then nothing other than what is logically necessary prevents anything from happening to that nothing. And then the fifth one is every separate thing that can logically possibly happen when there's nothing other than nothing remaining nothing entails the appearance of a universe. However, what doesn't follow from this is that this nothing state is the cause. So even on his account, it seems like the universe emerging is a brute fact, and it's not explained by the nothing state.
Exactly.
The nothing state is just simply an antecedent thing.
I think you're giving him too
not
much credit.
thing.
You're giving him too much credit, Than.
this-
No. I agree with Tim. That's not what he's saying. He's saying literally nothing created the universe.
And this is
But
my
his
this is
blog
like-
post that he keeps on the
this is my frustration, because in some parts, like on one side of his mouth, he's literally defending like literal absolute nothingness, but on the other side of his mouth, it sounds like he's doing the whole Lawrence Krauss move, where he'll say,
Yeah.
"Oh, but you have instability," and so if it's unstable, well, then it's just like all of a sudden it just produces a universe because it's unstable. But then if it's instability, that there's stuff there, because there's something that the referent unstable is like
even in his
referring to.
blog post, the phrase "other than what is logically necessary." What other than
Hold up, guys. I
what
gotta do
other
something
than a
real quick.
thing can
Hold
be
up.
logically
Everyone say hi
necessary?
to Avery. He's checking us out. So it's all say
Yo,
hi to
what's up,
Avery right now.
Hey,
I just had to do that. He already closed out. Oh well. I just saw that he was live and he was looking at our stream. I was like, I gotta go. Anyway, he's doing a raid right now, so we appreciate that. Thanks for everybody coming over. Anyway, continue what you're doing before I rudely interrupted you.
Yeah. So Than, you were saying that his blog post says what now?
Well, so it's like the premises in the blog post even say like there's a clause in the premises that says "other than what is logically necessary."
Mhm.
How can you have a nothing state that includes logically necessary things?
Okay,
Right.
so let's move on from this. Let me
Yeah,
just update
I'm just-
everybody. Hold on. Let me just update everyone coming over from God Logic stream. So we're going to be reviewing this lovely debate from Richard Carrier and myself, where he just said, literally argues the universe comes from an absolute nothing. So let's play a little bit more and get into this a little bit more now. So now that we're really, because I don't want to just keep dwelling on this. It's ridiculous. It's absurd. No philosopher takes this serious. It makes no sense. But yeah, let's just dive in.
The unstable nothing model. Yeah.
The unstable nothing. What is unstable in nothing?
So, yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing at my own joke, but I mean, like, seriously,
My
that's the
mental
problem.
health.
Well, do you hear the way he starts out? He's like, so yeah, so if we
Yeah,
This
let me
is
back
like-
that up. Play that again.
Ran something out of a hat. Are you talking about your nothing state? That,
Yeah. I'm responding to your discussion of my nothing state. Yeah.
Okay, so you pick
the unstable nothing model. Yeah.
the unstable nothing. What is unstable in nothing?
So, yeah, if you want to get into that now, I'm assuming you know the answer to this, but so what I do in this argument, and with what Lincoln and Wasser do as well, is that you have to assume that once you take everything away, so to get to a nothing, you take everything away, you have at least one geometric point of space-time, because you can't have less than zero of something. So, so there's always at least the potential of something existing. There's no way to get rid of it without logical contradiction. You can't have a nothing more nothing than that. So what you have is a field state in which nothing is in it. Basically, no physical laws
So
exist.
just to be clear, it's a field state, though.
I mean, that's just a way to describe it, right? So it's basically describing a state of
This is
nothing. I mean, they
Krauss.
use the word language of physics. I use the more colloquial terminology. You can just think of it as there is a 0 point that has nothing at it. It has the least, that's all space-time removed, all time removed. So there's absolutely nothing there. But consequently, at that one point, nothing dictates what will happen next. Nothing dictates that it will stay nothing. So if nothing dictates that it will stay nothing, there's only one, you can work it out. There's only one other option, which is that every possibility has to be equally likely, because there's no rules governing that. No rule makes any one option more likely than any other, because no rules exist. So once you start from that assumption, you get that. Now, even if you want to say we have to posit at least this geometric point that has this quality, I can grant that, because that if we have the single point that has it's a random potential, has no laws governing what it will do, If that's our one brute fact, the thing we have to posit, I'll grant that. And that's still vastly simpler. than
Question
God.
then. If you have nothing, how do you have possibilities out of nothing?
Here's the problem. Obviously, if all that exists is this nothing 0 point, it can't do anything. It's just is. It's like this. If you just have an empty field, quantum field, what is it going to do?
Yeah.
Nothing. It's going to do
so-
nothing.
This is the issue, right? Which what I was saying earlier, which is this just sounds like Krauss 2.0 because he's saying that we have at least one thing, which is a what do you say, a single point field state.
Mhm.
Okay, so a field, that's a geometrical object.
Right. But that doesn't mean it can even do anything.
Well, right,
He's
but
saying,
but,
well,
but, but
his
it's just
whole
right
argument is
out of the way.
enigma.
We can't be calling this. So okay, this is the problem, right? Because what you're saying, Mike, is how the philosophers of old have thought about these things, which is the reason why something changes is because it had the potential to be a different way, but something had to bring it from the potential to actual. That's what you're saying. You're saying, okay, well then if you just have pure potential, then how does it become, how do we get this new change, right? And Carrier's doing this weird thing where he's saying, very much like Krauss, well, if we remove the laws of physics, then you have instability and something happens, but but laws aren't things.
Exactly.
They're descriptions of things. So he would be describing whatever catalyzes the potential. So we're not going anywhere. Like we haven't solved anything. We haven't done anything interesting yet.
No, and this is also not like he's not defending his actual position, and I can show you that.
Right.
So if you actually go to his article here, I think this is it. Yeah. The problem with nothing, why an indefensibility of ex nihilo goes wrong for theists. He opens by saying he's not doing what Krauss is doing. He's not doing that. He's not arguing it comes from like a empty quantum field. And if you go down and you read what he says here, it's insane. Like, as I said, he's trying to say, therefore, like, in fact, we cannot even establish that it is likely that only nothing will come out of nothing. He actually is arguing for a true philosophical nothing. Look at this. Look at this. This is one of my favorite quotes ever from Carrier. An actual nothing is therefore even more likely to randomly create rabbits and Death Stars. That's not how logic works. This is what I was trying to get him to defend. And notice in the debate, he doesn't want to defend this. He's trying to argue, well, it's some sort of field. It's like a 0 point. It's a thing. And because it has no rules, it can do whatever it wants. But if there's no, as you say, rules or descriptions, Tim, it can't do anything then. And it needs to have causal powers to do stuff, which he never actually gets into.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm literally scouring through another one of his articles on this, just
Dan,
trying to
I swear
find
to God,
something
I
just
swear to God, if
to
you give him
understand.
more credit than he deserves by trying to like make it sound smart when Tim and I both know it's not smart. It just doesn't make sense. I'm gonna kick
Tim,
you,
okay,
man.
look, Tim, but at least Tim understands me, okay? Tim, you get it. You want it to make sense. Like
Yeah.
otherwise you're sitting here thinking, man, there's got to be something I'm missing.
Oh yeah. No, absolutely. And I feel like he says one thing, then goes to the next thing, and I go, wait a minute. Did we just like are we on like 5 times speed? Did I miss I don't know how we got here. That's my
Look,
brain the whole time.
Look, here's what he says
Yeah.
in this article. Therefore, when there are no rules governing how many universes can randomly arise from nothing, there must necessarily be either a random number of universes in the broad sense or a random number of universes in the narrow sense. This doesn't make any sense. Universes can't come from nothing. I don't know what to do with this. This is insane. I like went through this article and I tried to highlight stuff because it was just insane. And his other article on this is even worse, I have to add.
Yeah, does he ever at one point actually, because you did a good job bringing up this one objection to this, which was even if you grant all of this, if you attempt to do like a uniform distribution, right? Because he's going to say from this nothing state is all the possibilities, right? And if you just do you said this in the debate, but I'm just kind of putting it in dorky language, right? You do a uniform distribution of all the possibilities that can be expected on this nothing state, granting that it can actually bring about something. Well, the probability of any particular universe coming out from this nothing state, given the fact that the possibility space is infinite and there's no rules dictating why this nothing state would prefer one universe or another, then the probability of this universe, given that nothing state, is epsilon level. Like you don't know what it is. It's infinitesimally small.
Also, this is the article he's referring to. They're not saying the same thing Carrier is saying in his blog, and I pointed this out to him. They're actually arguing something to be more in line with my view, which is that the universe comes from information. They say down here, the notion of bit-based information at the core of the universe and evolvement is not new. This trend suggests that the physical world is made of information with energy and matter as incidentals. This is in line with with an idealist picture of the universe, that everything reduces to information. They're not arguing in this article that Carrier keeps referring to that the universe comes from a literal absolute nothing. They're arguing it comes from information. So that he keeps citing this article as if that's what they're showing. That's not what they're showing. They're not doing philosophy like in that deep metaphysical sense. So
Yes.
he kept citing that article as if it helped him. It doesn't. And I read that like twice and I'm going, okay, maybe I misread it the first time, but this doesn't show this nonsense.
Yeah. I mean, the whole adage of out of nothing, nothing comes isn't a principle we're just slapping on. It sounds good and you can repeat it to your children. We're saying that because there is this concept of if you have pure potential, right, for something to become actual, for a change to happen, for things to change from one state to another, something has to bring about that change. Something has to take that potential and make it actual. That's what we've always said, right? Carrier seems to be skipping over this point, which is just because you remove laws, which everyone understands today to be descriptions, especially scientists, right? I mean, he accuses you in the blog post, Mike, of being scientifically illiterate, and he's the one that likes literacy. He should know that the way in which physicists speak about laws are descriptions, or at least they're mathematical models. They don't speak about them as though they're these abstract entities that actually exist and have power. And so if that's the case, then he's being inconsistent.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look good for him.
Let's get to some super chats. We got a bunch piling up. So, hello, Pete. Can you debunk the non-stamp collector? I don't really care what video. I would just want to see someone debunk him. Also, you can ever debunk Professor Dave. We'll look into them. I don't even think this
Professor Dave is still around.
Non-stamp collector is not around anymore, as far as I can tell. So,
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now.
Oh.
Last video he made was 3 months ago. He's back apparently.
yeah,
only-
they come back every once a blue moon and do something, then they
I
go.
thought the new atheism was dead.
What's better, child marriage or cousin marriage? That's difficult, man. Well, at least cousin marriage, you're not actually committing egregious immoral sin where you're harming a child. So as disgusting as it is,
this question.
because man, that's what they give us, man. What do you want? I don't have to tell you.
He's trying to
I'm gonna have
get that free
I'm
punch.
judging you, Pates. I'm sorry, man.
They're
I'm
both
judging
pretty disgusting. But I don't think. I mean, so there is true that there is like God never actually outlaws cousin marriage. It is in the Bible for temporary things. It's definitely not something that is prescribed for all of humanity. It's the only two instances you can find in the Bible are where God is actually like saying, yeah, because of marriage is like Isaac and Rebecca, and they're not even first cousins. They're actually first cousins once removed. So there's more genetic diversity in that as it is. And then there's like a certain issue in numbers, but it's for a very, very specific thing. It's like beyond that, it's not like ever argued for. Did you guys read his article in the debate reviews, basically calling IP silly and dropping all of his arguments? Yeah, we'll get to that in a little bit. Yeah, don't you worry. The quantum bubble will bless you, Mike. Also have a pillow with your face on it. That's creepy, dude. Don't please throw that out.
I think that never mind.
Yeah. Oppie debate. When need to see a materialist actually try and defend some sort of metaphysical model that's not completely self-defeating. That'd be pretty awesome. Yeah.
Is Oppie? I don't think Oppie is actually a materialist, though, is he?
He's a physicalist.
He's just identity, yeah. Identity
Yeah,
theory.
but it's not the same thing, right? Like you can be a physicalist for the mind, but still have like room for other ontology, like a non-material ontology in your.
Yeah, for those who don't know, if you're watching this, Graham Oppie's probably one of the best atheist philosophers out there. Is pretty awesome. Very intelligent, unbelievable. Wants to set up a debate between me and him on does God exist, but it's been delayed.
I love Apple.
As you guys know, I was supposed to do it in October. It didn't happen. Got delayed because he's busy with stuff. Does Richard Carrier pray to this magic bubble since it has all the necessary properties of God? Yes, he must. Yes. Have you read his article on why fine tuning disproves God? What would you say in response? I've not. He's written so much on fine tuning. I've not had time to look into that.
Let's see if I can find it.
Nah. How about no, Dan? Let's focus on some more important things.
I'm just curious while you're going. Like,
My favorite argument to use for God is analogy from programming. You change a single bit, entire program could break. Now extrapolate to the complexity of human beings and the universe. I guess I need to know more about what you mean by that, man, because I'm not entirely sure.
Well, Mike, aren't you big into not just cosmological fine tuning, but biological fine tuning?
Yeah. Maybe on that I kind of get what you mean, but yeah, I have to think more about it.
Mm-hmm.
He says Carrier's meta ethics were so bad he just posited hypothetical imperatives and calls morality a superseding imperative, but it has no distinct ontology from the epistemic non-moral normative facts. You're absolutely right. This is why his entire meta ethics is just completely destroyed by G.E. Moore's open question argument, which you can always ask, okay, Carrier, you presented a hypothetical imperative. Why ought we do that? Oh, he'll say something like, well, you want to achieve that goal. Okay, why should we achieve that goal? Why is that goal a good thing to achieve? That's why you can just keep using G.E. Moore's argument on him over and over again. It will just collapse on itself. Hey guys, Carrier had some nasty, I'll say that like Smeagol. Carrier had some nasty little things to say about Mike on his blog. Yeah, I know. It's pretty messed up. But he didn't respond to my main arguments. Again, he did not present an actual metaphysics that can account for all the data in a simpler way than theism can. He's got to come up with something for consciousness, something for fine tuning, something for the emergent nature of the universe. Do you ever get my remix of your song? I emailed you a couple months ago, also asking for prayers from something specific. God bless. I did not. If you sent it to me, so no, I did not get that. They think in algebra, Arabic stuff. Oh, you see, this is the proof that Islam is the truth. Actually, Arabic took centuries to develop, starting in ancient Babylon, but they want to take complete credit for it. Also, are we still in the quantum bubble, or are we the quantum bubble? That's a good question for Carrier. We should get into that so people watching know what's going on there. So do a couple more super chats and we'll jump back in. How would you go around showing a Muslim that Islam is false? Sorry for bringing this into the atheist stream. Islamic dilemma.
It's very versatile.
Yeah, even Tim was doing some Islamic dilemma stuff.
Tim, it really helps, honestly.
Yeah, it's very easy to learn. Tim, how long have you been? How much of your life have you spent studying Islam?
Not long.
And he's already doing videos on the Islamic dilemma. Very easy to learn. Use it. It'll be good.
He started like a month after I did.
Yeah, not long at all. It's not hard to learn. It's very effective. Carrier said infinity with a God is complex. Isn't infinity simpler than a vast amount of causes in a natural system?
Yes.
Yes. It absolutely is. Because you have to explain why there are limits on a natural system. Like what you posit these additional brute facts, you make your whole thing more complex.
Yeah. You cover this in the open discussion period a little bit too, don't you? So
yeah,
we'll talk about this.
I'll do one more, then we'll get back into that. Love you guys. I'm always praying for you, and I pray for the Lord's will to be done in all situations. God bless. God bless. All right.
Real quick for Carrier on fine tuning, I just perused really quickly, so I could be wrong. But he just does not take into account theistic explanation at all. And so the way Tim and I do this, which is just going to be like theism given an axiology, we have our boundary conditions. So the possibility space is much more narrowed to like life permitting. You get the point. So yeah, very simple, at least from the cursory glance I just took.
This is what I'm explaining. So let's say that let's get away from the word nothing, because there's different definitions of the word nothing.
Bro, you can't get away from nothing, because that's what you literally argued for. So he He's changing his whole argument here. It's no
Let's
longer.
get rid of
nothing.
what I'm arguing for. Let's get away from that.
Again, that doesn't make sense. It's really bad. All right, so let's just change it. Let's just change it. All right, it doesn't work. Okay, great.
Or nothing. I think it's
Well, then
tripping
define
me.
it, please.
Yeah, well, there's too many. So let's skip nothing. Let's forget the nothing part because I think it's distracting you. Let's just say it's something. Let's say it's a quantum point.
I
It's a
love
something, it exists.
the attempt, man. I love the attempt to try to put like the shade on you. Mike, it's distracting you, okay? It's not that there's anything wrong with my theory or that like I'm not saying anything ludicrous. It's you're just getting distracted, man. So let's just use a different word. Like, come
So, you
on,
know,
bro.
If you're
Get
asking questions,
real.
you're asking questions for him to define what he means by nothing. You're just getting distracted. No, I'm confused on what you mean and how this makes sense. Explain it to me.
It's because
We
you
don't need
sit on
definition, Mike.
intellectual. You don't know science. It's okay. Okay.
Pretty lame.
Nothing causes it. It's just there. It's a brute fact. Let's just say that. So we're not even talking about nothing. We're just talking about this thing. This thing has no properties other than that it exists, and that it has no laws governing what will happen to it.
Okay.
That
so
doesn't
he
even
said
that
no
doesn't make
problem.
any sense. Hold
So
on.
is he? I'm trying.
Here's what he's
I'll
basically saying.
nitpick a little bit. I'll nitpick a little bit.
Oh,
Is
Than's
he
gonna give him
is he
credit.
saying
Okay, here we go.
existence is a predicate.
Wait,
Let's not-
oh no, yeah.
No.
Okay, so there's two things. Okay, Than, I see what you're doing. So there's two things he could be saying here. He could be doing the unconventional move, which most people would reject, which is existence as an actual property. Okay, so he could be saying that, but part of me wants to think that he wouldn't do that, but maybe he is. I don't know anymore. Or then he
Let me tell you what he's doing. This is so ridiculous. If it has no properties, it can't do anything. How
Well,
did
but
they create a universe?
But
If
he
something
says it has
exists, it
no
has
properties other than it exists.
But that's not that has no causal powers. Like, so it can't do anything. It's got no
I can
ability
only
to bring
understand
things
that
into
to mean.
existence.
I can only understand that to mean. Maybe I'm just a simple-minded Christian. I can only understand that to mean that he takes existence to be a predicate.
Pretty based. Pretty not based, actually.
So that's
Am I
basically
off?
three propositions, super simple propositions. Once you start with those three propositions, you inevitably get an infinite multiverse because of the randomness effect. It would be infinitely to one, infinitely to one against.
You said there's no
Anything
laws or
else?
rules. How do you get this multiverse out of this one dot?
Right.
That's the main point I'm trying to make there. If it has no causal powers, no properties other than it exists, it can't do anything. A mind, God, who is a mind, has causal powers by definition, because that's what a mind has by necessity. So it can bring other things into existence. Okay. Even if it's like imagine worlds, minds can imagine things, minds can bring forth things. Okay. This is basic philosophy. So somehow this non-sentient dot created a multiverse. It has no causal powers, no properties. It can't do anything.
Right. So if there are no rules governing what will happen, then what will every possible thing that can happen is equally likely.
That's not how it works. That's
I
not
mean,
how it works.
that honestly doesn't even follow.
No.
Because I could see how that would follow if, so like, for example, right, an actual good atheist is going to be someone like the philosopher Paul Draper, and he's going to say, hey, at the bottom of reality, you have something with causal powers, but it's indifferent. So anything that happens is no more biased over anything else. Because that would make sense. Like, you have something that, like, the selection mechanism is just indifference. Well, that makes sense, right? But he's not even saying that. So like, we don't even have anything to go off of to say that something has a probability assignment that's very specific or unspecific. So, yikes. Non sequitur. Complete logical fallacy.
Because otherwise, if there was one thing, like let's say, like if nothing stays nothing, you're talking about a rule. A rule is governing it. Something is keeping it staying nothing. Not only that, it's selecting nothing to a high probability over all the others, but that requires a rule, some sort of force or power.
Wait,
that's deciding
Mike,
this.
pause
You
it.
said there are no rules here. so
Exactly.
So then, if that follows, there's also no causal principles. There's no ability to. There's no potentialities.
Mike
There's no
Conley.
actualities. There's
The
nothing that can actually give rise.
The description is that. So that's the thing. Is this is the actuality that actually does the
Actuality of
causal
nothing.
effect. It is. So forget the nothing. I think you're getting distracted by the word nothing. Let's pretend it's not nothing. Let's say it's a thing. It is a something.
thing.
Yeah.
Thing created everything
Yeah,
else.
This little bubble, let's just call it a little bubble, has 0 size, 0 time, and it has just 2 properties. One, it no
Okay, earlier, notice that he's contradicting himself here. Earlier, he said it's a dot that has no properties except exist. Now it's a bubble that has 1 property, no 2 properties, or it's so many properties. Like, so first it was nothing, brought everything into existence. Then it was a dot that just exists with no properties. Now it's a bubble with some properties. Like,
So
he doesn't have a coherent metaphysical position, and he has to keep changing it because he realizes this just isn't working as an explanation of reality.
now, correct me if I'm wrong though, but he contradicts himself because he said earlier that there's no rules, but he's fine with the rules of probability theory being applied to how the nothing state produces things and how we can actually conform our expectations to what can be produced. But that like presupposes some probability rules. So he seems like he does have rules.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Than, what do you think?
Than's brain is breaking. You gotta give him some time here.
I have to think on that.
Yeah. Stop. He's already contradicted himself here. This is the problem.
Yeah,
It was
he's
a dot,
contradicting himself a lot. But
it was nothing. Then it was. A
I wish
dot
he
with
would
no
have. I wish he
properties.
would have finished. I wish he would have like been a little bit more detailed right there, because he goes, well, it doesn't have. He named 2 types of properties it doesn't have, but the one. Correct me if I'm wrong. He doesn't say it lacks any like spatiotemporal location, or like lacks geometry or something like that. There, I don't know if it's because he doesn't think that isn't a part of it, or what's happening there. I want a consistent theory though. Like, I'm just
You're
not
not going to
getting
get. He's already contradicted himself. You're not going to get a consistent theory. Let's continue.
Yeah.
Thing created everything else.
This little bubble, let's just call it a little bubble, has 0 size, 0 time, and it has just 2 properties. One,
Okay.
no laws govern what will happen, and it exists. So those are the only 2 rules.
How does that thing then create?
If no laws govern what will happen, then every possibility is equally likely. So every following event is equally likely. So for that bubble to stay
Wait,
a
right there,
bubble
right
and
there,
never change.
What?
right there is what I was saying earlier. Did you catch that?
No,
He's not saying, because you asked, how does this thing bring about all the like a universe? You're asking for a causal mechanism, right?
Yes.
Right. Well,
Right.
obviously.
He does not give you that though.
Yeah,
what
he's not
giving
thinking like
you,
that.
what he's giving you is, hey, well, I'm not going to answer your question, but there's nothing there's nothing that narrows the possibility space out on my nothing space, on my nothing state. But like that doesn't tell you anything. For instance,
Yeah.
like if you put me at an all-you-can-eat buffet and you give me all the certain types of food out there that I could possibly ever eat, and I chose to eat tacos, right? And you go, Than, why did you eat tacos? And if I go, well, because all the different foods are here that I could ever possibly want to have, is that going to explain why I chose tacos?
No.
Well, Than, in the same sense as well, just on another sense, if you had all that all you could eat buffet and you're eating the tacos and someone goes, Than, why are you eating the tacos? And you say, well, nothing is preventing me from eating the tacos in the first place. You'd still be like, well, wait a minute. The very absence of prevention doesn't give us an explanation for why.
Exactly. You need my desire for tacos specifically would explain why I chose the taco in conjunction with
and
no external boundaries, right? But there's no
But Mike, before you play it, just for the audience here, this is why like actual atheist academics who are philosophers don't argue like this.
Exactly.
Like everyone you will read will literally say, okay, there has to be a thing with a certain like causal mechanism so we can at least explain reality. No one does this. Carrier is a one of one.
Yeah. Well said. Well said.
Create.
If no laws govern what will happen, then every possibility is equally likely. So every following event is equally likely. So for that bubble to stay a bubble and never change and never produce anything is infinity to 1 against, because 0 outcomes is one option among all the infinite possible outcomes.
But there's also no causal principles. There's no actual
That
descriptions.
is the causal principle.
So it does have causal principles then.
That it is necessarily an effect of the description of the bubble.
So this bubble has the ability to cause other things.
It logically necessarily does.
Okay, so notice how what we've gone from. We've gone from nothing that has no rules and no laws, therefore nothing can do anything, which doesn't make sense, to a dot that has no properties except it exists, to a bubble that has 2 properties, and now the bubble has 2 properties, but it also has causal powers. He's not presenting a coherent metaphysical worldview. He's contradicting himself. He has to keep changing what he's presenting because he realizes when he's being interrogated, it just doesn't make sense. And this is what he's offering as a better explanation than theism. Absurd.
Wouldn't being bubble-like be a property?
Tim, stop using logic here, okay? There's no logic in his nothing bubble. Stop applying logic to his nothing bubble. There's no logic there. What are you doing?
I really want to know, like, I've scoured his website to try to find where he derives the logical necessity of a universe coming out of this nothing state.
Did you look for the bare necessity, the simple bare necessities? I mean the bare necessities, Mother Nature's recipes. Sorry. Anyway,
we're just gonna keep going.
Yeah, just keep rolling after I just ruined everything.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking about a thing that causes other things. Does it just do it by itself?
Well, yeah. Essentially,
Okay.
yeah.
So what things exist that are able to act on their own?
What, currently in our universe here?
Can you give me anything?
Yeah, well, we live in a universe that is governed by extant laws. So we aren't in this bubble. This bubble has no laws governing it. So we're not located there. We've never seen what this looks like because there's no such place in
So
our
there's
universe.
a thing not governed by laws that has the ability to create everything.
Well, there was once.
Okay.
Right.
So that sounds awfully lot like a mind. It can act upon itself to do other things.
So you know what the difference is? A mind is intelligently selecting the outcome. This has no intelligent selection whatsoever.
So
It
then
is
how can it
literally
create?
random. The outcome is literally random. And you can show that there are infinitely more random outcomes that produce a vast multiverse without a God in it than would produce a God or only one universe or no universe, etc.
Again, we still need to actually explain how this thing creates. What you're saying when there's no
That is
laws,
the
hold on,
explanation.
when it says there's no laws, that's a negative statement. Negative statements are not facts. They're just the absence of facts. We need actual facts to explain how this nothing state or this bubble is able to go from that to a universe. We need actual descriptions. We need actual causal principles. We need actual explanations here. Just saying, well, nothing constrains it, therefore it can be anything. That's not an explanation.
Just so you know, that whole rant came from Tim. Those are the notes he gave me.
Yeah, no, that was so awesome. I was
That
like,
was good.
I was like, yes, this right here,
I remember hearing that and going,
Yeah, that was nice.
That's all Tim's notes that I was just
Thank
reading
you,
off.
thank you.
Yeah, if you just assume that when nothing determines, that's the thing. So absence of facts is a fact, right? So
No,
like,
no, it isn't, Carrier. Absence of facts is not a fact. Good Lord. Oh my gosh. He just defines things in the weirdest way possible.
Absence of facts is a fact. What are we talking about?
Guys, just so you're aware,
What are we
no
saying?
atheist philosopher, Graham Oppie, Paul Draper, Nicholas Everett would argue this way. This is absurd. Okay, they're not going to agree with this kind of crap.
Wait, Than, you look like Than. Than, Mike, I don't know if you agree. Than looks like he's trying to figure this whole thing out right now.
Stan, stop trying to figure it out. It doesn't make sense, okay?
I
so like the
What
fact
is a fact?
I'm a masochist, okay? I'm trying.
Stop it.
when nothing determines, that's the thing. So absence of facts is a fact.
Nope.
Right. So like the
What's
fact
the
that-
fact then?
So, for example, you might say from nothing, nothing comes, right? You might say that ex
Of
nihilo
course.
nihilo, right? Well, that's a fact. That's a positive fact. That is a positive fact that does not exist at this bubble because it hasn't been created yet.
But you said it's
So-
a thing now, though. So it's a thing now.
The ex nihilo isn't, because it doesn't exist yet.
But
So
you see, notice how he just shifted back to his.
What is he
No,
even
again,
talking about right
Now he has contradicted himself again. Now he has gone from this bubble that has two properties and has causal powers. He added that in later. To back to his nothing, the nothing. And then when I start calling him out on that, I'm like, well, you switched to it being an object, but now you're going back to it being a nothing. He's like, oh, he's contradicting himself left and right, guys. This is insane.
Is all he means by this is a zero, like as he calls it a zero field state, where it's just
That's
it's a quantum field law. It's quantum field laws. That's it.
Than, look at me. He has contradicted himself how many times now? There's no coherent picture here. Stop trying to look for it.
I love this right now because I love how we're just like, this is just so fun. This is great.
There's no logic here, man. How can it be nothing, but also a point with no properties, but also it exists, but also it's a bubble with two properties, but then it also doesn't have causal powers, but it also has causal powers. And then it's also nothing. He's gone in circles at this point.
But I just why?
Because
Why are you
here's
doing
why.
this to me?
The evidence obviously leads to theism. We can't have that, so we have to go into these. We have to go into these circles. As I pointed out, as I pointed out in the debate, if you're positing a thing that created everything else, that sounds like a mind, and that sounds like God. Because this is one of my main points in the debate. You're either going to posit something illogical, or you're going to posit something that created the universe that sounds an awfully lot like God. This is the same thing that happened in that age-old debate with William Lane Craig, where the guy was like, well, I think it was a computer. And Craig is like, that's just God. You're just calling it a computer. It's the same thing here. It's a nothing bubble that has properties to create whatever it wants, and it has causal powers, but it's not God, even though it sounds like God. This is the point. This is where the arguments for God's existence go when we debate atheists. We get them to go to an illogical position or basically posit God without calling it God. And it happens every time.
I'm just done with people using the phrase logically necessary like this. First Dean, not Richard.
Yeah, there's some trauma there. Yeah, I agree with you, man. I see where you're coming from.
Nothing is illogical in that the definition of a syntactic contradiction, since it includes something. For nothingness,
Nerd.
Freaking nerd over here trying to bring in this freaking P and non-P. I thought DebateCon is for smart people. Why was Mike there? Ouch. See what I got to deal with, Tim? You see what I got to deal with on this channel?
Man.
Also, give money to Than's Protein Powder Fund. Very, very appreciative of that.
Thank
But see, rude comments these people put out there. If memory serves, your opponent's entire argument was, you can't show me absolute proof, therefore it must be false. Forgetting that there is no such thing as absolute proof. I'm not sure if that's what he was argument he was making. He was just trying to say that he has a simpler explanation, and he just didn't. It was completely contradictory. Nothing can do anything. I mean, that is technically true, just not in the way he thinks. Yeah, nothing can do anything that nothing allows, which is nothing.
Bruh.
Could this nothing state create logical impossible things like square circles? It's not. If not, isn't that a rule imposed on nothing? Good point. It's a good question we should ask Carrier. Watched it. Did Dr. Carey confuse himself a lot? Oh, did he ever? Yeah, absolutely. Nothing can beat a Cyclops. This is true. If you get that, you are cultured, my friend. Pendragon is definitely cultured. He knows Homer. For those who don't know, Odysseus said his name was Nothing when he fought the Cyclops, so that when the Cyclops they poked out his eye, he called out to the fellow Cyclopses, and he's like, no. He said, no one. He called himself no one. He said, yeah, no one can beat a Cyclops.
Wow, that's elite. That's ball knowledge right there. Let's go.
Good job with Dick Carrier. Thank you. Much appreciate it. I don't think there's a joke there. Appreciate it. Nothing is unstable. In an unstable state of nothing. Haha, you see, my nothing atheist Dawa has defeated you.
I mean, honestly, that's such a good way to describe it. Atheist Dawa, for real.
I should screenshot this one. If I'm gonna screenshot this super chat because that's pretty good. If that's basically, this is This really felt like this was Carrier's argument in a nutshell. I mean, in a caricature form. Does nothing also dictate its potential? Well, I mean, obviously. It has that description as well, right, Tim?
Yep.
Given his postulates don't have infinite possibilities with an individual probability of 0, so to ensure any other particular world, you would have to create all possible worlds. Yeah, all possible
Including the
worlds.
ones with God. Yeah. So that's one I've also thought about as well. I thought about that just being kind of like a backdoor entrance into the ontological argument, which is like, okay, well then if everything's possible, it's all equally probable. One of those possibilities is God.
I mean, so
God's in all possible worlds. So then,
even if, especially if you want to say that like it's logically necessary that does nothing state's going to create something.
It's weird, man.
This goes into like one of the other observations I made even with Carrier too, though. It seems like he conflates possible worlds with multiverse.
Yep.
In the debate. And so I'm like, what is happening?
Well, and if you were to try to distinguish between the two, he would need to introduce rules, which he says there aren't any.
Yeah.
So
anesthesia simulates death. Patients report the duration of anesthesia. They have no contents, proving no afterlife. If this is a valid argument, is this a valid argument against God?
No.
Well, no, that'd be an argument against the afterlife, not God. Those are two different things.
Why would it? But why would it even be an argument against the afterlife?
Because it simulates it, so that's what death is like, I guess. But that wouldn't be, because you could still have God, and maybe there's no afterlife. You could have an intermediate state, as some Christians even believe, that when we die, we sleep until the resurrection. So there's no like intermediate state where we go to heaven. But also check out my series Irreducible Mind. I addressed this in there. There are some studies that have been published showing that no, there still is consciousness during anesthesia.
Yes.
That patients have reported, and they've reported experiences during that. So
just
because we don't remember what's going on there, that doesn't mean that's not happening.
Yeah. Like for instance, if you're a dualist or an idealist, right? Like you're still going to hold to some sort of law-like regularities and all this other stuff, right? So just because anesthesia is going to simulate death doesn't mean that you're actually dead. And assuming that dualism or idealism is true, well, these law-like regularities, which would put your soul into the afterlife or whatever you want to say, right? They're not going to actually be met. Like the nomological conditions by which afterlife would be observed are not actually met under anesthesia under that account. So I don't know how that actually would be evidence against an afterlife.
If I can choose a starting assumption unchallenged, then I can make anything follow. Exactly. 1920 called and wanted black and tans back.
I don't get it.
There we go. I'm traveling.
Would you ever debate Carrier on Jesus' historicity, gospel reliability, or if Jesus resurrected? I appreciate the work. You and handsome Thandu. Very rude of you to say he's the handsome and not me, but I'll let it pass. Yeah, possibly in the future. I'd like to do gospel reliability, if anything, if I had to pick of those options. I think the historicity of Jesus is just ridiculous at this point. I don't even care to debate it. Jesus existed. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, Jesus existed. End of story. I'm sorry. It's ridiculous to say otherwise. And if you believe Jesus didn't exist, I bet you also believe the universe came from nothing. Okay. Did he want to explain his own existence via zero state? Of course not. No, of course not. Good question, though. What are y'all thoughts on secular and Christian metal? Depends on the song.
I like metal.
Depends on the song. Yeah.
Listen to some today.
If you take nothing and keep adding in nothing until you have all the nothing, then you really have something. That something is nothing. That's basically his argument, man.
That's the logic right there.
I'm gonna screenshot that one too. It's basically what he argued. I personally think that what Carrier and Krauss are talking about is out of the predictive range of physics. Physics is phenomenological. It has limits. You're absolutely right. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
There are bounds.
Just making fun of Muslims. Very Islamophobic of you to make fun of Muslims. We never make fun of Muslims on this channel. Ever. Name one time. Never have. No. His argument is full of mathematical nonsense. He says in an infinite array of possibilities that something infinitely complex can only happen once, thus limiting its initial data set. Very nerdy, but very accurate. Very accurate, Sean. Does the guest know about the Al-Zut?
Oh yeah,
Tim?
Tim knows.
Oh
about the
yeah,
Menopause
I'm
Zone.
very aware. My local church community now knows. So if you're beyond me now. I have people going up to little people in my church. Literally the other day, I was at a young adults meeting, and my friend goes up to another friend and says, "Hey, do you know what the Al-Zut, man?" I'm like, "All right, there you go."
Yeah,
This is
dude.
gonna-
I was downtown a few weeks ago, and I heard some people talking about it at a coffee shop.
Dang. It's going everywhere, man. It's going everywhere.
There's just these college students, man. I don't even think they were Christians. I think they were just laughing about the medical suits.
What do you think of the complementary relationship between the book of nature and scripture? I absolutely hold to that. Yeah, I absolutely think
based.
that's a thing. Yeah. Absolutely true. Great job, IP and Andrew Wilson. You had Dr. Carrier confused and refusing to define nothing, while Andrew had him in conflict about his own definition of fascism. Yeah, that was yeah, Wilson did a good job showing that, because at one point Carrier defined fascism as using force instead of democracy or coercion, something like that. And then halfway through the debate, Carrier is saying, well, in that case, you would have a fascist democracy, which would be an oxymoron by his own definition, because democracy is the opposite of fascism. You should review Dark Matter. No, I'm not really interested. Pretty bad stuff.
Right.
Very bad stuff, man. Some of the stuff is just so bad.
Well, yeah, this doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't deserve attention. I'm sorry.
Is cousin marriage wrong just because of procreation? What if a cousin couple gets married and they decide to never procreate? Is that moral or not? Good question. I'd have to think about that.
I haven't thought about this.
I don't think, here's the thing. I don't think first cousin marriage is necessarily immoral. Okay. I don't think it's necessarily immoral. Because again, there are times where you could see, like, it doesn't always. So let's say, like, the only two people left on earth are you and your cousin. Okay. I think in that instance, there could be a time like where it's okay. The problem with cousin marriage, the argument we make, is that the compounding factors, when your grandparents are cousins, your parents are cousins, and you're marrying your cousin, your kids are going to be screwed up. Those compounding genetic defects add up, and that needs to be taken into account. So when you're constantly doing it, yeah, you're pushing immorality in your society that's going to lead to detrimental effects. I'm not saying it is always immoral. I think it's gross. I would never do it, but I mean, like, it's just, that's one of those things you got to take into consideration.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, the problem is the Muslim world doesn't know how to. The problem is that Andrew was actually making the case that it's not necessary. Like, he said it's degenerate, but you could just use his arguments to say that it's bad for society, obviously, even if it's not necessarily immoral. It's still bad for society. Therefore, he was right in the debate. Mike, were you satisfied with how Carrier came prepared? He approached the debate with more gravity than Krause. Who would you like to debate next? I'd love to debate Richard Dawkins next, if that could ever happen. But yeah, Carrier definitely was more prepared. But he did an interview just before our debate that he was sick and tired of the debates, and I kind of felt like that during the whole exchange, like he just didn't want to be there. He's just kind of there for the honorarium.
So
That's what I
wait,
was getting.
if you were to debate Richard Dawkins, would it be on biology stuff or something else?
No, dude, does God exist? Why not?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, why not? Let's jump back in here, and then we'll get to some more super chats in a bit.
But you said it's a thing now, though. So it's a thing now.
The ex nihilo isn't, because it doesn't exist yet.
But
So
you said, let's throw out the word nothing.
Yeah,
now
that's
it's a
fine.
bubble. So
yeah, I'm okay with that.
So
Yeah.
out of this bubble comes the universe. How? Why?
Because that rule, out of nothing, nothing comes, doesn't exist there. So
Yeah, you said
it
it's a
is
thing.
logically.
This is what I mean. You can't, if it's a thing, you can't say, well, out of nothing comes nothing doesn't apply here. It doesn't apply. Like, you can't bring that rule. You can't bring that saying up, because
Wait, what does he even mean?
he's going back and forth between it being a bubble and it being nothing. This is it's a sleight of hand. It's nothing, therefore you can't say out of nothing nothing comes.
And he's
But
saying
that's not
this
his argument.
rule, and he's saying that this rule, out of nothing, nothing comes, becomes a rule after his nothing bubble makes that rule. Is that what's happening here?
Yes, but it's
Wow.
also he's also arguing it's nothing, but it's also something. This is completely 100% contradictory. His position is completely contradictory here. Why is he bringing up the rule out of nothing, nothing comes if he already established it's a bubble? That doesn't apply now because it's not nothing anymore.
Yeah.
Logically necessarily the case that if it is not true that nothing entails nothing, then it logically necessarily is the case that nothing will become one random thing.
So now we're back to it being nothing.
Yeah, except okay, sorry, bubble.
Okay, so
sorry, I'm
then
jumping
why are we
around on
bringing up
language,
that
but yeah,
nothing
that's-
causes nothing if you're saying it's a bubble that somehow
if the
created the
bubble
universe?
if the bubble is not constrained by any law that says it has to stay a bubble, and is not constrained by any law that dictates what will happen, it is logically necessarily the case that every possible outcome is equally likely.
That is blatantly false. That is blatantly false. If there are no rules or laws that govern this bubble, that doesn't mean it can do anything. Like this is a non sequitur.
And Mike, even if we do get to the point where it can do something, it still doesn't follow that all outcomes are equally probable.
Right.
Because that's a principle. And so I would ask the question, well,
Yeah.
why is this principle holding versus some other principle? There's no explanation for that. It's inexplicable. So it's not logically necessary. It's the inference. There's a huge gap there that needs to be bridged.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
The only way I can understand this is if he's saying quantum field, like mathematical laws, are the nothing state. And at that point, it's just like, well, this whole argument is just like self-referentially like incoherent.
It is.
What constrains it to say that every outcome is equally likely?
Logical necessity is
Okay, then it's
logically
constrained by
necessarily
something,
the
though.
case.
Then it's constrained by something.
Well, remember, logical impossibility is things that literally can't exist. So there's no no one has to dictate that. There's not like you can turn off logical necessity and you can somehow have contradictory things, right? Logical necessity simply just is. Like there's no way to get around it. You can't have logically contradictory things because a logically contradictory thing is by definition a thing that doesn't exist.
But this is somehow, okay, so let's go with that. We have a bubble, somehow brings about the universe, okay?
Mhm.
You keep going back and forth between nothing or a bubble. Again, how does this bubble act upon itself if there's nothing constraining it to create a universe?
It doesn't have to act on itself. It's not like it's not making decisions.
Yes, it does. Otherwise, it can't do anything. If this bubble is not constrained by anything, it still needs to have causal powers and a will to act.
Yeah.
Like that just logically follows.
If it has no properties, it has no causal power.
Exactly.
It simply has the property that a random thing will happen.
So it does have properties.
Yeah, I said that.
Okay,
What-
so it has properties. So it's not nothing.
wait, we just got a new property.
What does that mean? I don't even know what that means. What is having the property? Like, what does like can you unpack this for a second, Tim? What is having the property that something random will happen actually mean? Like, do I have that property?
Yeah.
So wait. So don't we have like 4 or 5 properties now, guys? Like we have the property. Because here's the thing: the only way that we can all three here make sense of the property that some random thing will happen is if there's causal powers, which means there's a thing. So it has causal powers, which is what he's trying to get away from, right? Isn't that what that would mean,
Bro,
D. Psalm says, I'm losing brain cells listening to this guy. Very, very, very accurate, very rude. But yes, absolutely. It does.
So Mike,
That's the thing. It doesn't make sense.
how did you keep your because you're really poised right now in the debate.
Bro,
You're just asking questions right now. I don't know how you weren't just like, what?
bro, I'm just good at that's what I do, man. This is why I do the debates. This is
That's
why,
why
this is why I do it.
Yeah, that's why
That's just how I am. You know what I'm saying?
No,
Don't send
you
me out,
listen,
dude.
Tim, you are very good at helping me prepare, get the notes I need, and then I execute. We are a team. We have strategy. We do this together.
sir.
All right. That's what happens. Okay.
So why would you bring
Yeah,
up that
when
out
I-
of nothing comes nothing?
Yeah, this has that property.
So
This
this
is the
prop-
simplest property you could possibly have.
It doesn't make any sense.
Bubble has
vastly simpler than God.
properties that can cause other things to exist then.
It's just one property, which is the property of becoming anything.
So it can
It
become
has
anything.
no other properties.
So
Earlier, he said the dot had no properties except that it existed. Now he's saying it has one property. It can do whatever it wants. Let me just play that again to make sure I got this right, because that was insane what he just said there.
I feel like
Oh, my face hurts.
Coolest property you could possibly
this
have.
bubble has
Vastly simpler than God.
properties that can cause other things to exist then.
It's just one property, which is the property of becoming anything.
So it can,
okay. I actually maybe I'm wrong, Tim, because you and I
Okay,
looked at how he
Dan's got it
assesses
for us. Okay,
simplicity.
Dan, go ahead.
You and I looked at how he assesses simplicity, right?
Yeah.
I feel like he's applying that inconsistently here, because
Hmm.
if this nothing state includes all the ways that like it could possibly be, right? Because like I don't know how else you're going to cash out this property of being able to become anything other than that, then his nothing state is actually just as complicated as how he thinks theism is super complicated, since God has the knowledge of all the possibilities of how things could be.
Yep.
That doesn't actually seem like we have a simpler theory anymore if we just apply it consistently.
Yeah,
Maybe I'm off, but like,
Yeah, because if we have uncountably many possibilities, and that's a part of our theory that it can be all these possibilities.
yeah.
And he was gonna say that.
And that, wait, and that also includes all the possible worlds in which God exists.
Mhm.
Yeah, pretty much, which is all of them, by the way. But that's another topic.
Yeah.
so it can
It
become
has
anything.
no other properties
So, okay.
other than existing.
So then it's constrained by something, by that property.
Let's say that, sure.
Okay. So you're not positing nothing. You're
Yeah.
actually positing
Now-
something.
To be fair, we've gotten off track. So people want to read my article. I prove that it is logically necessarily the case, so that I'm not just ad hoc presupposing this. But for
He proved it. He proved it, guys. Just like the Muslims tell us, they've proven Muhammad is a prophet. He's not proved anything. That's not how philosophy works, man.
He is. Not
He's
very-
using Dawa language. Pretty bad.
But for the sake of this debate that we're having right here, I'm willing to grant that. So let's just say that this is an ad hoc supposition. It's a brute fact, no explanation.
And by the way, he didn't prove anything. He just his articles are bad. I mean, I'm sorry. It's just he's trying to argue a literal nothing created.
Well, no,
everything.
he
Doesn't
didn't
make
prove
any
anything. But do you notice what he just did there? He tried to use Stan's razor to get himself out of a situation that's not going well for him. He said, well, he's saying, oh, I can grant that it's something for this discussion, but he's still going to defend his whole position is that it's nothing. So
Exactly.
so you're Mike, you did so good against him that he has to defend something he didn't come to defend.
Exactly. You said it so well. Yeah, he can't defend his actual position here. So he's changing it to something else entirely because it doesn't work. Notice I'm just asking him questions to show the logical contradictory aspects here. It's not hard to do this. You just get them to walk into their own logical contradictions when you see it. And same thing when you're debating Muslims. Same thing here.
Grant that. So let's just say that this is an ad hoc supposition. It's a brute fact, no explanation. It just is. So you have the bubble and you have this one property. That's it. And let's assume that I can't prove that they're logically necessarily the case. I actually do prove that they're logically necessarily the case elsewhere.
No, you don't, sir. No, you don't.
And you can look into that proof. But let's, for the sake of this argument, assume that's not the case. Let's assume these are my brute facts, just those two things.
Okay. So
Those two things are vastly simpler than God. So if you're going to pick starting points at random, mine is actually way simpler.
We're positing a
yours.
bubble that has causal powers, and then it creates a universe with conscious agents.
Well, it creates a multiverse,
Okay,
right? It's going to
even
be
bigger.
near infinite multiverse. If you pick a number at random from all possible numbers, it's going to be unimaginably large.
Why? Why does it do that?
I mean, if every number has an equal probabilities, if you add up the infinite number, let's pick a number 10 to the 5,000th power. So that's a huge number,
So
right?
then anything is probable.
Everything is possible. So each particular thing has an equal probability. So each number of universes has an equal probability. So if you pick a number at random, number of universes at random, from all possible numbers of universes, you can show that there's always infinitely more universes than any finite number you choose. So the probability.
Is it just me or is he describing God? It's his bubble. It has causal powers. It created a universe with conscious agents. So it has the ability to create consciousness. It has the ability to create a vast multiverse. But this isn't God. It's the bubble acts upon itself. It has causal powers to do what it wants.
Why?
How's that not God?
Why not just be an Axiarchist at this point? Like,
So my issue, guys, right now is like, so Mike, he just told you that when you said so anything is probable, he said no. You just have all possibilities that are equally probable. That's just more words to say. Like it's the same thing on the other side of the equal sign.
Yeah. Well, that's also not what he says in his articles. Like he actually says that everything is equally probable in his article on the nothing state. Let me see if I can find that really quick here.
yeah, I'm trying to find it.
It's not in the Coons article, but I know he
There's a
says
few
that
of them.
in somewhere in there.
So, Mike, when you say that that this is indiscernible from God, are you coming from the position that he's basically postulating an omnipotent entity?
Yeah,
Because
he absolutely is.
because and for the audience knowing, like a strategy that philosophers use is that out of omnipotence you get the traditional omni properties.
Right. That's the thing. That's why theism can actually explain more than non-theism. Because on his view, you have a bubble that's somehow not consciousness, but can do whatever it wants, creates all the complexity of the multiverse, but isn't omnipotent, isn't a mind. It makes no sense at all. It's just absurd.
Probability that is going to be an unimaginably vast number is infinity to 1. This is basic math.
As we said, you said anything is equally probable, right?
Yeah, each thing.
So then everything is equally probable. How could this universe be more probable on a God?
He just contradicted himself. I asked him earlier, is everything equally probable? He said everything is equally possible, but now he just admitted everything is equally probable.
Yep.
Contradicted himself again.
Godless view, if everything
Back up a little bit to make sure I get my full point in there.
equally probable, right?
Yeah, each thing.
So then everything is equally probable. How could this universe be more probable on a godless view if everything is equally probable?
That's the multiverse point, right? So if you pick a number at random from all possible numbers, your number is going to be near infinity.
Look. He didn't answer my question. That's what I'm thinking
bro.
right now. He didn't answer my question. He just avoided it entirely. He realized the trap and he just completely ignored it. If everything on his view is equally probable, he can't say this universe is less probable on theism because on his view, everything is probable, as he just admitted.
Well, he's trying to save it by saying that this nothing bubble chose to create a world that is a multiverse world, and it just contains this universe within that world. And so, problem solved. It doesn't save anything because these are still brute. Like the multiverse is still just a brute fact. Then we can still ask the question, why this multiverse over any other multiverse out there, or whatever it might be, right? Like you actually haven't saved yourself because the possibility, like you're just kicking the can back.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, pretty much.
Now this is supposed to be simpler than theism. By the way,
Obviously, I mean, first of all, for it to be simpler, it first needs to make sense, and it doesn't make sense.
Your number is going to be near infinity, the number you pick. It won't be a low number because if you pick, let's say 5, let's say 1,000 even, let's pick 1,000. There are infinitely more things to pick above that, right? So the sum of probability of all of those is infinite, whereas the sum of probability for those 1,000 things is only the sum of 1,000 things.
So
right?
this bubble with causal principles can create anything it wants.
Logically necessarily, from how I've described it. It's
How is that
inevitable.
not God?
How is it not God, guys?
yeah, because that's omnipotence. He's describing omnipotence. If it's logically necessary that all causal powers are available to this entity, that's omnipotence, because that's what omnipotence entails. Omnipotence entails that all causal powers are available. So you're right, Mike.
This was my plan before the debate. I'm thinking I'm going to try to get him in the open dialogue to admit he's just positing God. And I did not think he was going to say a bubble. Like I did not expect that. But then when he said it, I'm like, let me just keep going with this because I'm going to get him to this point here that actually happened. He's going to have to walk into this. He's going to be describing God without realizing, and boom, did he ever.
This is
Let's
great.
see what he has to say, though, because he's of course he's not going to agree.
Well, it doesn't have a mind.
Well,
It's
wait a
not
minute, wait a
thinking,
minute.
it's not
How
intelligent.
does something without a mind cause other things on its own?
I
When it's
already
not being
explained
acted
that.
on and has the ability to do anything it wants. Carrier, if you watch this, you did not explain it. You gave us so many. Let me make this full screen. Just so Carrier, you did not explain it. If you watch the full stream, you gave us so many contradictory different positions that contradict one another. It's nothing. Then it's a point with one property. Then it's a bubble with multiple properties. Then it's nothing again. Then it's something again. Now it's again back to the bubble that has properties and causal powers and creates everything and is limited, which is basically just God. Like, you just can't say, well, I already explained it when you didn't.
Man, because
Yeah, but
oh, go ahead. Dan.
I was just gonna say he also just, as far as I can tell, he doesn't prove logical necessity here, right? Like he argues there is nothing that constrains the nothing state, so therefore there's all these possibilities. And but then he doesn't argue anywhere that like a possibility actually not obtaining it generates a contradiction. Like in order for I take logical necessity to be right to like P and not P. Otherwise, the negation of this logical necessity entails a contradiction, right? But he doesn't show that here. All he shows is there's no constraints. But just because there's no constraints doesn't mean that there's some sort of contradiction and something not obtaining again. In fact, later on in the article, he even says like he has an empty worlds idea where it's like this nothing state. What's the probability of this nothing state not creating something? But how are you going to have a probability of such a thing if it's logically necessary that it will create a thing? Because he says he assigns a probability of less than 1% to that in his article.
Wow.
It doesn't make sense. I know.
Wow.
How could nothing exist? Isn't nothing non-existent? Yeah, that's what Graham Oppie would say. Yeah. Existence as a property leads to Anselm's argument. Very true. Very true. That's the point I was trying to get at. He's just walking into arguing for theism and not realizing it. Clearly, you are much ado about nothing. It's more nothing than you can shake a spear at. Very true. Very true. Also, the carrier argument about God does not exist because of big boobs. I told the argument to Than, but I know he's too gay to bring big boobs to the conversation.
Wow. I have no idea what this is, but this is
Oh
special.
my gosh.
Go ahead.
I forgot where this is from. The carrier basically argues somewhere that women with big boobs are evidence against God's existence because big boobs cause back pain.
See, no, that's that tells you everything you need to know right now. I think that tells you. Do you know what?
I think I could ask probably 90% of men on the planet. They would say the opposite. That's evidence for God's existence.
No, you're just looking at women as objects, Mike. That's what carrier would say, probably, or something like that.
Well, he's gonna watch this for sure, and there's gonna be a blog post about all three of us.
Yeah, I'm sure. Or I'm just making a joke. But anyway, he tried to explain nothing through vacuum, which is something, as it can be created in a vacuum is not nothing. He failed to say nothingness. Very true. Yeah. So he says laws are real things that came into existence out of nothing, which is outside of logic. Doesn't that include a law of cause and effect and non-contradiction? Then how can we know or falsify this?
These laws did not exist until after this nothing thing.
You see?
Didn't do anything because it doesn't have causal powers. It's just something happened.
Doesn't probability require a set of probable effects from an actual cause, such as rolling a 6-sided dice? Yeah, good point. Even if we grant him most of his argument, he still misunderstands necessity. It doesn't follow that it would necessarily explode into everything if remaining nothing is possible. Exactly right, Ricky. You're exactly right. Even if we grant his stuff, all of his points, it doesn't follow it would necessarily explode into everything. There would need to be properties that would explain that. And you're eventually going to just start explaining God if you go down that route.
P.S. More Tim.
What?
What is it?
I said P.S. More Tim, please.
I obviously didn't read that because that's a bad idea. So obviously. So if nothing allows every probability to have an equal chance of happening, then can nothing make God? Oh, stop using logic, sir. I don't. It's ridiculous. Dr. Carrier's reasoning is a perfect example of anything but God, no matter how improbable or absurd or incoherent. Pretty much, yep. I've heard a lot of reverence for Oppie. What are Oppie's best arguments? What are the best responses? Also, what about after hearing his argument kept you in the faith? Because I think his overall position is just more ad hoc. It just makes, especially if idealism is true, then everything is just mental. So it just follows that the base of reality would be mental as well.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
what, for me.
Tim, you probably echo this. I feel like Oppie is just extremely misunderstood. The reverence for Oppie comes in as methodology in approaching theistic explanation and theistic worldviews. It's not really that he has any particular argument against theism that like really hits the nail on the head. It's just a lot of okay, well, if you get to do that, I can do it too, but in a simpler way, right? And then the response there is just going to be basically just outlining that the way he addresses simplicity is not really found in the philosophy of science. Tim, you can go.
So the only thing I would say, I think, yes, I agree with everything Than just said. The thing that really made me have reverence for Oppie was up until I started reading and listening to him, atheists always strawmanned every single theistic argument, didn't treat them seriously. Oppie defends naturalism, meaning he has a wide range of critiques. He's critiqued ontological arguments, every cosmological argument you can think about. He has argued against every living of the greatest, like, top tier theistic philosophers you can think about. He had an 160 email exchange with Andrew Loke, which ended up becoming a book. He did a debate book in 2021 with Kenny Pierce that was really, really long. He's interacted with Richard Swinburne. So when I looked at Oppie, I was like, okay, this guy is actually stepping into the ring with the theistic heavyweights, not straw manning them, and actually come up with critiques that are thoughtful. And not only, but he actually has a methodology for actually establishing a naturalistic worldview. I said, finally, an atheist who's actually going to put themselves on the line, right? So he actually helped me refine my thinking. I actually dropped arguments that I used to use because I thought his critiques were good.
Let's play a little bit more of the debate. Then I'm going to get into his article, his review of the debate, which is, if you wonder why we're being so rude, it's because he's quite rude in that article, so he deserves it. We fight fire with fire. I was planning on being nice until I read that article. Yeah, me too. Yeah, I was going to be super nice in this review, and then I was like, he dropped that, and I'm like, well, not anymore.
Yep.
So please explain again.
It doesn't want anything. It doesn't have desires. They only posited two things.
Okay, so now we're positing another
exists.
arbitrary limit.
No,
It can't have desires.
I'm saying it has.
Yeah, there's another arbitrary limit to his nothing bubble. It can't have desires. Why? Arbitrary limit. No, there needs to be another explanation for that.
Well, because it's nothing, Mike, and
and also something
can't have properties except for the property of existing and the property of being able to become anything. I mean, what are you not getting, Mike? It's so obvious. Like, it's logically necessary, Mike.
It has two properties. It exists, and anything can happen that's equal. Anything can happen,
and it can't be a mind.
I'm not saying it can't be.
You just whoa. Okay, so it can't have desires, but it can be a mind. What?
So wait. He's saying that the bubble can be a mind.
Apparently. Let's back it up a little bit.
Just a second here.
Yeah.
I'm saying it has two properties. It exists, and anything can happen that's equal. Anything can happen,
and it can't be a mind.
I'm not saying it can't be. I'm proposing a theory. You're proposing a theory. I'm proposing a theory. I'm saying my theory is, and I don't necessarily think this is necessarily true. There are many other possible theories. I'm just defending this as a possible theory. I think it's plausible. But
you're the only one.
One thing has these two properties.
All right. Bro's just saying, he's just throwing out all the words, man.
Bro, yeah, dude just rambled to try to escape.
He said, he's like, this is just a possible theory I find plausible. Bro,
if I just say a bunch of words, maybe people will forget about the thing I just said, and I don't have to be embarrassed by the stupidity that just came out of my mouth.
Pretty much.
A possible theory I find
vastly
plausible is crazy.
Yeah.
than God because it doesn't have desires, doesn't have a mind, doesn't have any of the other properties that you actually think God has. Other than you could probably argue through a semantic argument that it's omnipotent.
So this is a non-sentient bubble that somehow has the ability to create things, even though it's not acted upon.
It just
and
randomly does it.
It just randomly does it.
That's the posit.
Does
And
it-
if it randomly
Wait.
does something, you get an infinite
Mike.
multiverse. So
Mike,
He just conceded the omnipotence.
If it randomly does something, how does something randomly do something on its own? It would have to be sentient or a mind, basically. It has to be something that would be able to do something on its own, which is a mind, not a dot or a bubble. He's arguing for God and doesn't realize it. And this was the whole point I was planning in the open discussion. And notice how he keeps doing it. He keeps walking into it and not realizing it.
it could be a mind. It could be omnipotent. Like,
This is crazy. He said semantically this could be omnipotence. Dude, welcome to theism.
They're all really theists. They don't realize.
So he argued your position for you, bro.
That was the goal, and he did it. Yep, he's basically doing it.
So
What
this
what
brute
principle
fact is way
explains that?
simpler than God.
Well,
Let's-
again, that's another brute fact, is
Yeah.
it not?
yeah, that's fine.
So that's when James interrupted and wanted us to move on other topics. Very rude, very upsetting. But let's.
Don't be like that.
At that point, though, he basically was arguing for God. I was at that point. I'm like, I guess we can move on because he's arguing my position now. So Richard
no, Mike,
Carrier
you're
doesn't
just
realize
too
he's a theist.
intellectual. And Christian
say?
nationalism is a really big threat to America. So, yeah.
What's his first and last name if you use the short form of Richard? Very rude, Dave. Of you. How dare you? How dare you, sir? How dare you insult?
That's the
someone
man
who's-
with the last name Johnson, bro. Like, that's crazy.
Take that shot, Dave Johnson. He's an atheist because his mom named him PP Carrier. Man,
Yeah,
this I do not endorse that. If the argument is that nothing has no restriction, so it can make anything, saying that it can't instantly produce a mind is a restriction. Exactly. So you're right. That's a restriction, an arbitrary limit that he can't explain. IP, what do you think about global work-face theory of consciousness? I do not think I hold to that, but I can't remember what that specifically is right off the top of my head.
Global workforce.
Carrier lost me at an 18-year-old woman. Carrier lost me at an 18-year-old woman should be able to trade herself for the benefits of society. This shows how selfish and evil he really is. Oh, he was arguing for prostitution. Yeah, that was pretty bad. Yeah, that's what was in the Wilson debate. My issue is my friends deny the dilemma exists. Well, they can deny it all they want. Just keep showing them what the Quran says. They can deny the dilemma. That doesn't change the fact that the Quran makes the dilemma for us. So just keep pressing them on what the Quran says. Why does it say this? Why does it say this? Can't remember if I asked you guys before. I'm just looking for philosophical foundations for a beginning. Yeah, I want to branch into deeper philosophical side. I said before, if you want to start somewhere, start with the book Philosophical Foundations for a Christian Worldview. Good place to start.
Mm-hmm.
I don't agree with everything in the book, but it's a good place to start. Dr. Carrier's bubble theory may be from farting in bath.
Wow.
Very rude, sir. Very rude. How can he argue an infinite multiverse is more likely than God? And what's the difference since it contains all knowledge, all space time, and does anything and does exactly it does anything and everything. Yeah. Exactly. That's what he just kind of walked into. Love to see debate Steven Pinker on secular humanism. Ooh, that'd be fun. Maybe I should try to do that at some point. Yeah. Maybe I'll mention that to James or something. Y'all got any tips for leading a Bible study? 20-ish people group and all young adults. Thanks. Get a good Bible study. Do some apologetic stuff, I guess. I mean, I don't know. Try to go through some Tim Keller stuff. Go through a Tim Keller book. Do that. That's what I would say.
It depends on your goals, but like honestly, I would say the biggest thing is have people that are actually going to want to be part of it and actually study their Bible. I've been in Bible study groups and they were horrible because people just wanted to gather around and socialize and talk about their feelings rather than actually like
Yeah, I
So
would say the same thing. You should want the group of people involved to actually be wanting to learn what the Bible actually says,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and take it on its own right,
Honestly,
on its own terms, and actually be okay putting aside their preconceived notions of how to actually think about the Bible.
Mhm.
Those kind of people.
yeah. Yeah. If you have that, the rest will fall into place, honestly.
Nothing is what rocks dream of. That's good.
Rocks are atheists.
Rocks are atheists, yeah. So yeah, he did a review of his experience at DebateCon. He was very upset by it all. He said he was a better experience debating me. Still not great. A lot of posturing and wheel spinning was there. And it was a bit high level for many in the audience. Yeah, I agree with that. It definitely was. That's what I told James before the debate. Some of this is going to go over the audience head. He still wanted to do it, though. Demonstrated. Jones actually stayed on topic. Appreciate that. He says, my case was precedent, simplicity, and evidence was as expected on naturalism, but not theism, without gerrymandering, i.e., all observable predictions are entailed by naturalism but not theism. No, you admitted in the opening in the open dialogue that your position entails everything is probable. So how can you argue that your position is more probable when we heard you, we played the clip, you argued everything is probable from your nothing bubble? It doesn't make any sense. He says, I failed to answer the argument from simplicity. What argument?
Yeah.
Your nothing state that is also a dot with one property, but it's actually a bubble with multiple properties, but it's also nothing. And it also has causal powers, and it has the property to become anything it wants. And there's no explanation for why this has that property. So again, weird limit there, weird arbitrary brute fact. Very weird. He says, Jones leaned heavily on his argument to idealism, but had no effective response to all the evidence I presented that it is exactly what is expected if idealism is false. And he never presented actual evidence for idealism.
So in the same way, then he would haven't he didn't present any evidence for materialism or physicalism.
He didn't. He didn't present any of that.
Because
and
he just talked about correlations and instead, therefore, the brain generates mind.
He didn't address a lot of the data I used in my opening statement. So this is just flat out wrong. I presented a ton of evidence for idealism that he never actually even addressed in my opening statement. And he doesn't address it here. He says, I kept repeating circular arguments from how things seemed rather than presenting evidence that it is how things are. I think this is projection. Honestly.
Wait. What does that sentence say?
Hold on. Is he denying that you are making an inference when you like touch something or like see something?
So wait, Mike, can you read this again?
He just keeps repeating circular arguments from how things seemed rather than presenting evidence that is how things are, like I did, in parentheses.
Wait. And then how do we justify the external world?
Oh, he just does, I guess.
Okay, it appears to me there's objects outside of my own mind, but I need evidence that there actually are.
Exactly. He never presented evidence that they are.
Bruh.
Oh my God. He says, talks about my science literacy. It becomes very apparent when Jones actually sincerely presented the evidence of similarities in structures between galactic clusters and neurons in the brain as evidence mind precedes body. So I did present this. There was actual evidence. And he tried to present this in his argument against Kastrup. He doesn't actually get it. He basically argues that, so I present, let me just put up my opening statement here. So you guys can
While you do that, I'm going to Google, why does Richard Carrier hate Bernardo Kastrup?
Because he really, really does.
So there's actually some research done that the cosmic web of galaxies matches our neural networks. And this is in multiple things. It's even in power spectrum analysis, information processing, total neurons to observable galaxies. So the cluster of galaxies matches even the neural structure in our brains, the way the information is being processed. Carrier responds to this by saying, well, that's just the most maximum way for network efficiency. So it's just naturally going to, here, let me first say the argument I'm presenting. The argument I'm presenting is that because of this, other reasons, I would not make the argument on this alone. I presented other reasons. But on this actually fits better with idealism. Because in idealism, the brain is the image of a conscious agent. You are what you look like as a conscious agent. Okay. The brain is the image of that. It's the image of your consciousness. It has to look like something if it's in space-time. The universe would be the image of an actual conscious agent, i.e. God. Okay. So it just logically follows that the universe would be a reflection of the conscious agent.
But Carrier wants to say that you're saying that the universe is just a big brain.
Okay, I obviously didn't say that, but yeah. So Carrier's response to this is no. The reason why brain and the universe resembles these structures is because that's just how network efficiency works. These are the most efficient ways for networking to manifest. So that's what's going to happen. The easy rebuttal to that is then why are other biological structures not brains? Why is everything not brains then? Like your circuitry system, your lungs, trees. Why don't trees look like giant brains then? Like this doesn't logically follow. So
Go ahead. I was gonna say, even if that's the case, right? That just allows us to run the fine-tuning argument. Okay, so built into the laws themselves are these patterns. What's gonna allow us to have the most expectancy for those kinds of laws with those kinds of rules that would actually allow us to have that kind of efficiency? He doesn't escape. He's not free just by saying that.
Mm-hmm. He says, I'm not, he says, Jones is thus a Christian because he's not well versed in science. So if you're a Christian, you don't know science, guys. This is Richard Carrier.
I love what he says. I think somewhere at the bottom there, he says something else about your illiteracy. That's really funny. Wait, I can't even read this. It says
where
he
he is a Christian because he doesn't know how to research and fact check an internet claim about networking structure being magic.
I love what he says at the bottom. He says that doesn't mean that the tree god controls beachfront property.
Where does he say that?
Oh, the bottom right there.
Oh, that doesn't mean that the tree. Oh God. So wait, what is his argument here? He should have known that I was not saying it was magic, but you were saying it was magic. Dr. Carey, you definitely were saying it's magic. Your bubble magically is able to do stuff, even though it's not a mind. And it's magically able to become anything if it decides so. That's magic. But that is literally a deterministic and inevitable result of heat dispensation in networking systems. No, it isn't. There's nothing in the physics of heat dispensation in network systems that says they have to organize in brain-like structures. This doesn't logically follow at all. We can create computers that resemble nothing like brains that are good with heat dispensation in network systems. They don't look like brains.
Does he want to say that brains are somehow this like unique, like maximum efficiency phenomenon?
I guess that's what he's trying to argue. It doesn't logically follow because there's other systems that can maximize networking and heat dispensation. This doesn't logically follow at all. He doesn't know. He just assumes it does.
Mm-hmm. You know, if there's a nothing state, like a nothing bubble, well, let's put it this way. What are the odds that you would have like this really, really efficient brain that does these things conditional on a nothing bubble versus the probability of these really, really, really efficient brains that can do these things conditional on theism?
Oh boy. Almost zero.
But what I don't get is like I don't see how this actually rescues atheism. Because Mike, you could have you didn't, and I don't think you should have, but you could have even conceded to Carrier's physicalism during the debate and been like, you know what? Fine, Richard. Fine. Guess what? There still are conscious beings that experience things in the particular way that they do. And it seems like theism better predicts this than your nothing bubble that has properties but doesn't have properties, that can do everything. And it can be a mind, and it could be omnipotent depending on your semantics. And it's apparently simpler, but not really. Like,
I love the opening dialogue because I got to say I got him exactly where I wanted him to be. I got him exactly where I wanted him to be, and he just let me interrogate him. Like I was expecting him to try to turn it on me. Didn't want that. That was a mistake. You never do that in open dialogue. You don't just turn it
on you was to go. You're just getting distracted.
Gaslight you, bro.
Yeah. I'm getting distracted by the fact you even define your terms. Here's my favorite line in this whole thing. Where is it? I just had it. It was another technical win for me, but with some actual fight. See, guys, he technically won the debate. He technically
This is the dawa. This is the dawa.
This is such dawa. Yeah.
This is well
The
said.
$20 dawa script. Yeah.
And most of this is him just arguing against that one argument. I gave several arguments for why the universe is emergent from a mind. But he just tried to attack this one. And just again, he assumes a law of physics about heat dispensation and neural networking or networking in general that just isn't true. But he doesn't actually deal with my main argument. And let me just reiterate that again for people. In my opening statement, I said, look, here are the three arguments I presented. Explanation for the emergent universe, for consciousness, moral realism. We can explain all these with one, theism. His view, and he did this in the debate, and he hasn't addressed this. All of his data he has to come up with different explanations. And he will probably say, well, my nothing state explains it all in a completely logically incoherent fashion, as if we demonstrated throughout this stream and in the open dialogue, man. I don't know what to tell you. You didn't really present. At the end of the day, he didn't address the main argument here. We can account. It's not about simplicity at the end of the day. It's about parsimony. You got to have a simple explanation that can account for all the data.
Mm-hmm.
His argument against unspecified or specified complexity, he should be a solipsist. And I think I even said that in the debate because he's positing all these minds beyond his mind. Why posit more complex minds when you can explain everything as a solipsist? If he's actually saying,
because you don't have to make an inference about your sensory experiences, Mike. It's just quite obvious that your sensory experiences are a direct acquaintance with the physical world, because the physical world necessarily exists. It's logically necessary.
David Wood is in the chat with a very generous super chat. In his dumb book, Carrier argued that large breasts are evidence against God's existence, since large breasts can give women back pain. Weird how most men will look at the same evidence and come to the opposite conclusion.
Yes, sir. That's a good super chat right there.
Very good. Is Carrier trying to sidestep the multiverse problem that the most likely universe with an observe is simpler than our universe? I don't know, actually. I have to think about that.
Wait.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Carrier died. Is it Carrier died?
Sorry. There you go.
Okay, yeah. It's trying to sidestep the multiverse problem that most likely. Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Hi, IP. Have you used the tag? No, I've not. Also, Than, have you seen Attack on Titan? Edit where Jesus comes and tells Eren Yeager his sins are forgiven.
I have not.
That is something Than would love.
Pretty nerdy. Pretty nerdy.
Yeah,
Did Carrier make up his own?
That's fan pilled right there.
Did Carrier make up his own scoring system for the debate and declare himself the winner? Yep. Pretty much. Carrier is the king of backing up one level of abstraction, claiming victory, facing the same explanatory problem as before. Well said. Absolutely right. If the possibilities are infinite, how could any number be a large number? There are infinite numbers above any number. The possibilities are infinite. How could any large number be? Yeah.
He from what I heard in the debate and from what I've seen, he tries to address this in two ways. One is to say that, well, the probability of any kind of universe existing given a nothing state is about 100%, not 100% necessarily. So therefore, any kind of a universe is much more expected on this. And then when you get to the problem of like the specific universe, he goes, well, multiverse will explain this. But for reasons stated before, it doesn't save you. No. In
stat physics, everything is equally probable. It's just that there are more indistinguishable states. Oh, yeah, more indexable states in one orientation than another, thus probable. Yeah. Pretty nerdy, sir. Richard said the bubble can create out of logical necessity. Logical operates in a mind. Yeah. If the bubble can what is something that can create that's not a mind? That also wasn't affected or caused by anything else. Like this is the problem of contingency. Natural things can bring about other things if they're acted upon. So if this bubble existed by itself, what acted upon it if it's not a mind?
Yeah.
His brute fact could be infinite universes created in a large link system that has always existed. The bubble is a universe maker that creates one.
But it has no causal power.
Exactly.
And it makes it simple.
Yeah. And it has one property. Actually, no, two. No, maybe some more. It has no desires, but it could be a mind, you know. The funny thing is, after the debate, people kept coming up to me and saying, like, have you accepted your Lord and Savior, the bubble?
Oh yeah, he's not gonna live that one down. No.
Oh man, yeah.
That's his
The magical bubble. That's what it was. It was a magical bubble. Concepts like numbers require consciousness. Depends on what you mean and what field of philosophy you're in. I think if you're talking about, because like if you're talking about the actual metaphysics of them, possibly I need to know what you mean, but there's different things like Platonic, nominalism, these kinds of things, fictionalism. Did you ever get a band to perform at an event that came up in your stream debunking Dan earlier this year? Nope, that's been postponed because we're busy. But if Than wants to put on a conference in Madison because he's got a bunch of churches that are interested, we will do it.
Yeah, I just talked with the churches in the Madison area, and I told them maybe spring 2027.
All right, let's just plan for that.
So busy right now.
If you can make it happen, we can plan for that. I'm an atheist. I think it's possible that an eternal quantum field creates universe, but we don't get to know. Some replace we don't know with God did it. Here's my argument, though, Steve. Here's my argument in my opening statement. Well, go ahead. You go first. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that none of this is interesting. Like it's possible, therefore what? But if it's possible, then we at least have something to go off of to assert possibility. But we just don't know. And why do we need knowledge? We can rely on evidence. There's a lot of issues with this. But go ahead, Mike.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, go in my opening statement. I argued quantum fields are not things; they're just abstractions in quantum field theory. So you can't appeal to them as actual things that can bring about other things. But then it just goes back to the contingency issue. How did this eternal quantum field act by itself to bring about other things? Okay, what properties does it have? What limits does it have? Why does it have those limits? Is it infinite? Okay, why doesn't it have consciousness? Is there a law that explains why it can't be conscious? Is there a law that explains why it's not omnipotent? Is there a law that explains if it's infinite or if it's not? This eventually you're just going to start positing theism again, regardless. So I think at the end of the day, if this is what you're positing, start thinking about what it is, how it created, how it got to what it is, what are the properties it has, why it has those properties, and you're eventually just going to realize it's God.
Yeah.
Where was I? Oh, yeah. Seems that he's trying to apply Schrodinger's cat to existence. We don't know, therefore, anything is possible. Well, it kind of is. It's nothing, but it's also something until he decides to observe it and figure out if it's a bubble or not a bubble. Wants to say all possibilities are equally possible, then Boltzmann brain is possible, so we just don't get either idealism or solipsism. And he's got, does he have an article against the Boltzmann brain?
Yes, he does.
Yeah, what did he
says? We have physics that rule them out or something like that.
Yeah, because he says that like
we have
fine tuning is like necessary or something like that, doesn't he?
I don't know, man. I've unironically had more thought-provoking debates with TikTok atheists. I can't believe this man is seen as some atheist powerhouse. To be fair, a lot of atheists like Tim O'Neill, Kip Davis, and others have attacked him for pushing pretty ridiculous nonsense. So give credit where credit is due. It's a lot of the atheists in the atheist community can't stand him. Yeah, and again, I was kind of like neutral in his debate with Andrew Wilson, because I don't hold to Wilson's politics, but
I didn't know he debated Wilson. I'll have to check that out, I guess.
yeah, I was kind
debated Wilson before Mike.
of no, he debated Wilson after me.
Oh yeah, oh it was after. Okay, I saw it before.
Yeah, I was kind of neutral because I'm like I wasn't sure. Well, actually, I ended up landing on Wilson's side because I realized Wilson's was actually making the better arguments. His side made far more sense, but I was worried that Wilson was going to start arguing for some authoritarianism, and he didn't per se, at least from what I saw. So I was cool with it, but yeah. If he can say he technically won, I can say IP also actually won. This is true. This is true. You can say that, but you need to prove it. You need to prove that it's possible from a nothing state that a universe could arise where I won. So.
Yeah, there are no rules in place that dictate that Mike did not win, and so therefore it's possible that he won, and so therefore it's actually logically necessary that he won.
Oh man,
well said, Thane. You're gonna
That
get a
was
raise
great.
now.
That was great.
Gay theism is in 2025 is wild.
Why is that so funny? To
I don't
say?
know if this is an attack against me or
Gay
Richard Carrier.
theism.
I think it's attacking atheism because gay theism is what they're trying to say.
Gaytheism.
Well, it says gay theism.
I think it's
Gay-
gaytheism.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. It's amazing how quickly nothing turned into something with rules when questioned.
Oh,
Exactly.
Yeah.
He couldn't defend his actual position because it's absurd. So he changed it, as Tim said earlier. Very well. Yo, IP, I just started a YouTube channel and YouTube flags some videos. Is that a normal thing? I do church security and pew pew content. If you're doing pew pew content, they're gonna flag stuff.
Yeah.
They're pretty rude about that. So sorry. I don't know what to tell you. I've not had that issue.
Blur the pew pews. Or reach out to other creators that make pew pew content and see what they do.
Yeah, I would recommend that. Yeah, because I don't know how to help you with that. I've had no issues with YouTube. I've had a ton of issues with TikTok taking videos down because they're basically Nazis over there. But not YouTube.
Schnazi.
YouTube has been very good to this channel, actually.
You gotta say schnazi.
No, I'm not on YouTube. I'm different, man. If I was on TikTok, yeah.
Oh, okay. It's not the same thing. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
I thought it was the same.
Curious question: why does a mind not need to be acted upon? Does this presuppose libertarianism? At least for God, for sure. Yeah. Especially if God is the first cause. Well, I mean, again, we're positing an inference. What is the most likely first cause? What would it be? It can't be a non-sentient thing. Minds are able to make their own decisions and do certain things without being forced by other things.
Yeah, the way that people like Richard Swinburne or Rob Coons would explain is they'd say that the only thing that can actually motivate a conscious being to act is going to be reasons for acting. And so in this instance, we'd have a mind which is aware of reasons to do something, and then that's going to give it motivation to actually do that thing. So it's just going to be a basic action based on reasons. So it's not like, I see what this person's saying. It's not like the action comes out of nowhere. The action is being informed by reasons to actually perform that action. That's the very nature of being a mind. So I see what he's saying. Yeah.
Carrier acts like a life on a chessboard. Does that make him a carrier pigeon? I get the joke. That's good. That's good. Guys, please help me with my doubts. I think I'm going to convert to bubbleism. No, don't convert to bubbleism. No, I know his arguments are so strong.
The bubble and God seem pretty interchangeable. So you don't actually have to change your theology that much. You just think that the bubble became incarnate, but it's the same thing.
Magical bubble. The magical carrier bubble. All right. So, Tim, promote yourself.
Might as well. So I run Worldview Mastery on all platforms. My goal is to teach Christians how to think and how to think better. And that's what my content does. And if you want to learn how to think better and actually effortlessly defend your faith, I run an academy on School where we go live throughout the week and we work on objection handling. We work on discovering new answers and helping you get to the next level. So if you want to go deeper on that, I have links where you can go there and get that done.
Also, guys, please donate. We're trying to upgrade our live stream equipment. As you can see, my camera sucks, so we need to order some new cameras. So if you can click the donation button below, we can get some new equipment. That'd be most appreciated, and we can raise funds for next year. So yeah, please consider donating below. We need the support. Appreciate all the support. Next week, Than won't be here. I will be in Colorado with, I believe, John McCrae and David Wood, and we're going to look at some fun Islamic stuff.
The guys.
So it could be pretty,
Yes,
do another
sir.
in-person stream. So, but Than and I will be live tomorrow for a call-in show. We're going to do a call-in show tomorrow. I think like at what, like
Islam.
4 p.m. Eastern on
What did you say again?
tomorrow with the call-in stream. The theme is, did Jesus claim to be God, or does the Bible
Yeah.
teach Jesus is God? So
That's gonna be fun.
yeah,
Nice.
we play a drinking game every time we hear John 17:3.
You're gonna get that so much. You're gonna get
Oh,
that so much.
But
Every
what
time.
about John 17:3? I know that in this gospel, Jesus is called God directly, but what about John 17:3? Yeah, it'll come up a million times. Yeah. So, all right, close this out. We'll be going 2 hours. I'll see you guys. We'll see you guys tomorrow for the call-in stream at, I believe, 4 p.m. Eastern, and we will see you guys next time. You made it to the end of this video, which means this message matters to you. If you want to see more content like this reaching people for Christ, you can help make it happen. Your support makes these videos possible. Click the link below and donate today. And if you want to go even deeper, consider joining our Patreon community. You'll get early access to videos, behind-the-scenes content, and a place to connect with others passionate about this mission.